Hello, beautiful people. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope everybody's doing awesome. It's Coach Tracey and it's T Talks with Coach Tracey. And y'all know that T stands for thoughts, emotions, and actions. Oh my gosh, today has been a crazy day. I've had a few mishaps today, but that's okay. We gonna make this work anyway, right? So I'm gonna give people just a few minutes to join us. I am here in sunny Florida, and my backdrop, I believe, is the JFK Causeway. Um, I think. Um, it's so gorgeous. The breeze is just amazing. Um, I'll be leaving tomorrow. I'm going to be sad, but I'm going to be happy to get home. But it's absolutely amazing. And I thought I would share a bit of what I am enjoying with you guys for today's Tea Talks with Coach Tracey. So while we're waiting, do me a huge favor. Send out some feelers to your friends. Hit the send button and invite them to join us. If you are on Facebook, do me a favor and give StreamYard permission to see your information so that I can see who is in the chat so I can respond to you personally versus saying whoever that is on Facebook. If you are on YouTube, I will respond to your comments as soon as I get an opportunity to get offline and do so. Thanks everyone for joining me. And you know how it is, sharing is caring. So hit that send button and invite a few friends to join us, because you know what? There may be a gem or two for somebody that I'm going to say, or someone's going to ask a question that somebody wanted to ask and didn't ask. And somebody's going to get some healing today. All right. So let's go ahead and make that happen. All right. So I've done it on my side. Just going to give people a few more minutes. And I apologize for one, not being able to go on at 10 this morning. There were some technical difficulties and being late today. I'm not even going to get into it, but it's all right. We're here now. Okay. What is everybody up to? Tell me in the comments what you are doing, how your day has been, and where you are. If you're vacationing or if you're doing something, let me take this off. I thought I was going to need to use it, but it seems like I'm doing okay. Can everybody hear me all right? Let's just make sure everybody can hear me. Yeah, I'm loving my two ponytails. Oh my goodness. All right. All right. All right. Hey, Christina over on Instagram. All right. Let's just get into it. Today's Tea Talks, Thoughts, Emotions, and Actions with Coach Tracey is about shame. And if you saw the title, shame is a liar. And we're going to talk about shame because all of us have dealt with shame at some point in our lives. It's natural that we're going to be have some shame in our lives. The shame that I'm talking about is the shame that we carry with us. And it's the shame that is created inside of us because of something someone said about who we are as a person versus the actions. And let's just discuss briefly the difference between shame and guilt, because they are different. And some people use them interchangeably and they are not the same. Shame is how you feel about yourself. It is an inward emotion that you actually, it's I am bad. It's about you as the person as a whole, which makes it so incredibly heartbreaking for one. And it makes it's very, very hard in some cases, for some people, to heal from shame. And guilt is when you are feeling bad about something that you did, not who you are as a person. So that's really, really different. Guilt is about an action that you did or did not take. Like, for instance, I felt guilty that I moved when my oldest daughter was in her senior year of school to get married. Hey, Joy, on Instagram. I felt guilty about that because she was in her senior year of high school. But I also was moving into another phase of my life. I was getting married and all the things, right? So I felt guilty about that. But I felt shame about myself when it came to my teeth. And the reason why I felt shame about my teeth and even my size, I felt shame about my skin because I had really bad acne after I had my children. My children did that to me, okay? I love my babies, but I didn't have acne before I had children. So all those hormones of getting pregnant just brought on all this acne. So I was very shameful about that. I was shameful of my nose, how big my nose was. I was shameful of my big toe, both of my big toes, because I got picked on about them. I got picked on about so many things. And when you're small, and I was really small, I'm only 5'2.5" now, but when I was younger, I was barely 4'10". So people, and I was big, I was no bigger than this cup, okay? So people used to pick on me a lot. So they thought because I was small that they could do it. They didn't realize that I was also, I was a militant. I was like a little, I would fight you. Still will if don't come correct. I still might have to fight you. But I'm better now. But when I was younger, I would fight. And most of the time I was fighting because I was hurting. But before we continue on with this, and y'all know I get so excited about my topics, I want to talk about my tea today. First of all, I don't have my mug because I'm not at home. But I also knocked over my tea. But I did come prepared with my strainer and everything. And I do have like a corner of tea in there. But let me tell you what tea I'm drinking today. Today I am drinking the Heart Chakra tea by our sponsor, The Wealth Tea. Owner is Crystin Eman. Thank you so much. I am loving this tea. I actually had a sampler. I had the sacral, I have the heart chakra, the root chakra, and I also have, I think I had the solar plexus. And this is the heart chakra tea. Look at her packaging. I love it. And you also get a strainer. I did not use her strainer because I want to hold on to it because travel. And inside her packaging, she has some of the most cute things I love. I love her sticker. It says thank you. And it says the Wealth Tea on it. I just love them. I love them. Here's one of the big reasons why I love the Wealth Tea. One, it's based on healing. Because let me tell you something. If your mind is healthy, you can tap into your wealth. And then when you tap into the 7 chakras, we're not going to get into whether or not this is spiritual. It is spiritual, but you do your own research on it. Read Ezekiel and Jeremiah about the 7 wheels that is talking about the chakra system in our bodies, okay? So you do your research, but I love the 7 chakras, and I am learning more about my chakras and tapping into my chakras as well. She gives you the 7 chakras daily affirmations, and it's connected with the various crystals, which are also energy healers. You can see this. Crystals are also energy healers because we are all energy. God made crystals. They have energy. Again, you do your research. You believe what you want to believe, but don't come for me. Y'all don't know me like that. I'm just saying. All right. I love this. Then She also gives you another card that talks about the various teas and the names of the teas. Like today's tea that I am drinking is the Treasure, and that's the heart chakra tea. And not only does it help your heart chakra, but it also helps you physically. Let me see. I don't have my glasses on. Y'all, I'm trying to be cute. It helps your heart, your chest, and back health. And so very important. So if you have not gotten your teas from Crystin, the Wealth Tea, I am going to encourage you to do so, because it has so many benefits. The other thing that I love about her teas is that they're loose leaf. I love tea bags as well, but I do like there's something about steeping my tea in my strainers. I have a heart-shaped one also, and just watching it's just something about it. It makes me feel decadent. All right. All right. Yes, this is live. Adam Mayor Fitness and Gaming. He's asking a question. I'm not even sure if this is on YouTube. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, he is on YouTube. He says, is domestic abuse learned behavior? It can be learned behavior. Today's topic is actually about shame. Shame is a liar. And Adam, some people who live in a abusive household do become abusers. I grew up in an abusive household. I'm not an abuser. So it certainly depends on the person. It does not mean that just because you live in a household where there is abuse that you will be an abuser, because we all have free will and we all have choices. Just because we grew up in poverty does not mean that we're going to live in poverty always. Just because we grew up in a traumatic in a traumatic household does not mean also that we are actually going to be living our life out based on the trauma that we live. Many of us do in some areas of our life, but not the entire parts of our life. So it all depends on the person, and that's something that. Here's the thing. Because you've been grew up in a household or around abuse or something traumatic, we have to remember nature and nurture. There are people that have come into our lives that have nurtured us, that help us to overcome those traumatic instances in our lives, right? So because of that, nature and nurture, we have the propensity, we have the possibility that we will come out on the other side. However, and I always say however, because there's always a caveat, we will still carry some of that trauma with us. And for those of you guys who don't know, I'm actually streaming on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So if you see me looking away, that is why. Yes, Adam, you are so right. So let's get back into talking about shame. So shame is how you think and feel about yourself, basically. It's you feel as if you're bad, if you're broken because of something that was said about you. And I'll give you an example. Have you ever heard a child being called dumb because they made a mistake? The other day, I heard a child being called everything but a child of God because of a simple mistake that he made. And it was a little boy, couldn't have been no more than about 4 years old. And all you could see when he was called this was his head go down, his little shoulders go in, and he just looked so deflated. And that is how shame starts. When someone says something about you, the person, versus the action. Instead of calling this little boy dumb, they could have said, oh my God, you made a mistake. Versus, you're dumb. How could you do that? because the mistake that he made was very trivial because we were on the beach. Okay. How big of a mistake could he have made on the beach, right? Um, but he's going to more than likely hear that in his mind, and he's probably going to carry that shame because he's believing that about himself. So whenever he makes a mistake or something that doesn't go right that he was involved in, can you imagine what he's going to say to himself? The things that he's going to say to himself? I'm so stupid. They were right. I'm no good for anyone. What am I good for? I'm just, So he's going to continuously beat himself up. And that's the thing about shame that makes it so powerful until we actually start to do the work to dismantle its power and empower ourselves, is that we continuously beat ourselves up and tear ourselves down when it comes to shame. Because shame lies to you. Like, shame tells you that you are the problem, that you can't fix whatever that thing is that happened, but you can. Sometimes it's simple. It's something as simple as an apology, and we all have the ability to apologize, right? Shame also will tell us that that we can't be forgiven, but we can be. Even if no one else forgives you, you can forgive yourself. Okay? But that's going to require a few things from you to be able to get to the place where you can actually forgive yourself and where you can disempower the shame, right? But before I go on into those ways about how we can disempower shame in our lives, let's talk about a few ways shame shows up for Black women and where it starts from. First of all, shame is very deeply rooted in the patriarchy. Shame is also very deeply rooted in white supremacy, because shame is all about control. Y'all, the sun decided to come out. It's been gloomy all day. So if you're on Facebook or YouTube, I apologize for the sun in the background. But shame is about control a lot of times. It's about beating a person down so that you feel empowered, by taking someone else's joy away, by taking someone else's beliefs away about themselves. And shame is deeply a limiting belief that you have believed over time. And let's talk, a belief is just a thought. It's a string of words that we believed over time and made it true. It doesn't mean that it's true, however. Okay, so shame is also deeply rooted in being a limiting belief, because that's exactly what it is. What you believe about yourself because of what someone else said about you. Okay, or it could be something that happened to you. For instance, what if you were, I'm going to give you one that could be very, very, very much something that many of us can associate with as mothers. I breastfed both of my children, but I was ashamed of breastfeeding my first child because of the way that my family reacted to me breastfeeding my daughter. Something so natural as me feeding my daughter, something that God created, I was made to feel shame for doing so, because my family never breastfed. Well, they did, of course, years and years ago, but because formula and bottles are now readily available, they were uncomfortable with breastfeeding. They didn't care about the fact of the beautiful benefits, the bonding that my daughter and I had. And even though I didn't breastfeed her long, I still breastfed her for about a month or so, but so much pressure from them. It really, and I was only 16 at the time. So you can imagine how much pressure I felt and how ashamed I was for doing something that is natural, right? I should have never been made to feel that way, but it was about them controlling what I did with my child so that they could have access to her when they wanted to. Because of course, their reasoning was that if you're breastfeeding her, no one will be able to take care of her because she won't take a bottle. Well, people pump breast milk all the time, and I had all of this stuff. But anyway, that's one way that women are shamed. Breastfeeding, being a mother, because being a mother, we are shamed in being a good mother. Who's defined what a good mother is? Who defines that, right? And sometimes we are shamed because we can't do it all as a mother. So that's one way. We can also be shamed in our workplaces because of the work that we do. Let me tell you, when I was working, I was shamed. Let me put it like this. They attempted to shame me. They attempted to shame me because I am not a pushy person. I'm a salesperson, but I don't push people. I build relationships. And because sales is a very male, white dominated, cisgender, if you will, occupation, many people my supervisors and people like that tried to shame me. But here's the funny part of it. I was doing better in my sales than they were. But they were trying to shame me into being pushy. So they would say things such as, don't be a wimp. Don't be wimpy about it. How are you going to get your sale? They would say things to try to control how I showed up doing my job. Okay. So that's one way. In the workplace, you can be shamed. And shame is very tricky also, because you don't even realize that it's shame. You just feel this uncomfortableness. But let me tell you, there are some ways that you will recognize that it is shame. If you start to feel it in the pit of your stomach, that's usually shame. Okay? Because shame usually shows up in your like your solar plexus area. Okay? If you start to hold your head down, or you become dejected, your body will give away and show you that you are actually experiencing shame. Okay. Grow with Joys on Instagram. She says, family aren't always a blessing. Their words and their actions aren't always a blessing. You are so right, Joy. So right. But my second daughter, I breastfed her. I didn't care what they said. I was like, nope, I don't care. I'm in my own house. I'm going to do this for my baby. You guys don't have to like it. I'm not asking for your permission. And guess what? They got over it. But at 16 years old, I wasn't quite ready to have those types of battles then. And also I was living in someone else's house. So there you go. So how do we overcome shame? There are a couple of things, because we have to disempower shame. We have to take all the power away from shame, right? Oh, yes. The Wealth Tea says, I love that we have a choice to learn from all of our experiences. Yes. The first thing is that we talked about this one, and it's the V word. You have to be willing to be vulnerable to feel those emotions of shame. And because usually when we are feeling shameful, we don't want to feel that, right? So we push it down, we suppress it, but we still have this stuff going on. We still have the negative talk going on, right? So we have to be vulnerable in one, acknowledging that we had that thought, that we felt shameful, and being vulnerable enough to actually get into our bodies and recognize where that emotion of shame and that feeling is coming from, okay? That's the first thing, recognizing it and acknowledging it and being vulnerable to do that, okay? And this is short. It's not going to give you everything. That's what coaching is to give you all of the ways and the tools to make it happen. But this will give you a start, okay? The second thing, once you've been vulnerable and given yourself permission to actually feel that shame and recognize where in your body shame is showing up, then you can do the deep dive, if you will. And sometimes it's really surface, but then you can understand. So you can start asking yourself questions like, where is this coming from? Why am I feeling shameful? What am I feeling ashamed of? Start asking questions. And here's what's going to happen. Because shame is going to put you in your fight or flight mode. So you're either going to go fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Because when shame shows up, it's gonna your lower brain, your reptilian brain, whatever you want to call it, is going to go into survival mode. I don't want to feel this. So your heart rate's going to increase more than likely. Your pulse is going to increase. You may get sweaty. You may get a little agitated, jumpy. All of those things can happen because your norepinephrine is running through, your epinephrine is running through your body because your fight or flight system has been activated. That's your sympathetic nervous system, okay? So when you start asking those questions, your prefrontal cortex has now started to engage, which means your parasympathetic nervous system is actually starting to calm you down. So now you are actually in your reasoning brain, and then you can start asking those questions to understand, one, is this shame even mine? For me, I carry the shame of getting pregnant at 15, and it wasn't even my shame. It was my mother's shame. I carried that for years because she was ashamed that I got pregnant at 15. Okay? And once I realized that it wasn't my shame, it gave me so much of my power back. But the only way I was able to realize that I was carrying my mother's shame and it wasn't mine was I kept wondering, what am I ashamed of? I'm not ashamed of my baby. I'm not ashamed that I got pregnant because my daughter was my lifeline. Okay? Did I want to be pregnant at 15? Of course not. Who wants to get pregnant the first time they have sex? That happened to me. I didn't want to get pregnant the first time I had sex, but I did. And I will always believe that my daughter, regardless of if I got pregnant with her at 15 or had I got pregnant with her at 21 or 35, is my blessing, because Bible says that children are a blessing in Psalms. So, okay. So my baby is just that. She is my blessing. So when you start asking those questions because you've allowed yourself to be vulnerable, then you can actually also start to give yourself some compassion. Then you can start to say, oh, okay. Oh, you know what? You're awesome. You're not dumb. You're not dumb. You're not unattractive. You're not fat. You're not skinny. You're smart. You're pretty freaking dope. Yeah. You're thicker than a Snickers, baby girl. You're thicker than a Snickers, baby girl. You can start loving on yourself and loving those areas that have been missing your love for you for so many years. Okay? So you can start giving yourself that compassion. And when you start giving yourself compassion and speaking the truth about who you are to yourself, that's when the magic really happens. That's when that healing, and that's when you become so empowered because now you know the truth of you. Okay? And because you've learned how to give yourself the permission to be vulnerable, the permission to give yourself some compassion, now you can start to trust yourself. Because when you're dealing with shame, you don't trust yourself. You don't trust your thoughts. You don't trust that you're going to make a good decision for yourself because you've been taught that you can't because you are bad. So when you start to go through those things, you begin to build your own self-trust as well. So those are 3 ways, and of just a few tips, of course, asking the questions. Put that limiting belief of shame on trial. Ask that, is it true? And if it's true, which more than likely it's not, if it's true, then you can own that as part of who you are. And you can even learn how to accept that as who you are. Okay, I am fat. I do have flabby arms. I'm okay. I ain't okay with it, but that's who I am. And I love my body, even with my flabby bat wing arms. Okay. They tightening up though, y'all. That exercise, they tightening up. Yes, I'm getting there. But yes, that is how a few ways. 1, the vulnerability. 2, the compassion. And with the compassion, you're going to start saying things to yourself that are the truth about yourself. I am are wonderful, wonderful statements to say about yourself. I am gorgeous. I am beautiful. I am smart. I am abundant. I am prosperous. I am intelligent. I am creative. I am whatever that thing is. Okay. And if you're dealing with this at work, one thing that I would have you do is to make sure that you keep your energy high. And keeping your energy high is saying your own positive affirmations or declarations about yourself to yourself, making sure that you are in the company of people who support you, who lift you up, who pour into you, feeding your mind with tools and things that are going to uplift you, whether that be reading, whether it be music, whether it be meditation, whether it be breath work. Keep your energy high and minimize the contact that you have with those people. Because when we go to work, we know that we're going to work with people that we can't always not deal with, but we can do everything we can to minimize our time with those people. And we can also do the things that's going to be required for us to keep our energy high. Okay. All right. Let me go back and read some comments. And thank you to everyone who has joined. Christina says, my dad tries to shame me for nursing my son. Gosh, I nursed him for 6 months. My daughter came 6 years later. I nursed her for 2 years. I know, it's amazing. I don't understand why so many people have a problem with nursing. When it is part of the makeup of our body as women to be able to nurture our babies. It's so beautiful, and it's a beautiful thing. But the reason I do know why, because they have objectified our body as sexual objects and not as vessels for nursing and taking care of our babies. And when you can get past that, then and remember that that's their issue and not your issue. And that's what happened. I was like, you know what? It is what it is. The Wealth Tea says, wow, that's powerful that you learned to separate that energy. And I think she's talking about how I separated the shame that my mom had of me getting pregnant at 15. Yeah. And I did it at a very early age because I knew that I wasn't ashamed of my daughter. My daughter was, and still is, both of my daughters are still my life, after God, of course, right? And Grover Joy says, yes. Hey, it's Robin. All right. I am Green Dawn, Serenity Karakara. Thanks for joining me. My folks on Facebook and YouTube, thanks for joining me. Any questions, any feedback, any thoughts? The one thing that I forgot to do, y'all, I'm so out of my element and everything has been so crazy. I forgot to read my prayer for today, but I'm not going to forget to pull a card. I picked up these cards And they are the Power of Surrender cards by Judith Orloff, MD. And I love her cards. So I am going to pull a card, and then I'm going to do the prayer to close us out, because I'm going to make sure I get my prayer in. All right. Yes, Joy, it's such a natural thing to breastfeed. I think it's just so amazing. Honest to goodness, it's such a bonding experience. And so many women would love to be able to breastfeed that weren't able to for so many reasons. But to be shamed, yeah, it's really crazy. So I'm shuffling the cards and clearing the energy, any negative energy. Want Jehovah, remove anything that is not of you. Lord, just give us a word for the people. And I'll pull a card. I never look. So here's the card that I pulled. Oh my goodness. This one says surrender to prayer. Surrender to prayer. And the text says, give yourself over completely to prayer. When you pray from your heart, you will be heard throughout the universe, and answers and support will arrive. I love this card. That's some of the artwork. At first, I wasn't going to get this deck because it doesn't have a lot of diversity in it, but I wanted to see the deck for myself, and I love the artwork on the back. It's really beautiful, and I'm loving this deck so far. So surrender to prayer. Give yourself over completely to prayer. When you pray from your heart, you will be heard throughout the universe, and answers and support will arrive. Y'all, this speaks so, I don't know who needed to hear this, but here's the thing. A lot of times we give up on prayer because the answer hasn't come, or we think the answer hasn't come. Right? Because sometimes when we're praying, the answer could very well be no. And because we don't want that answer, we give up on prayer. But the more that we are praying and we are putting our needs, our wants, our desires in the universe, but not only just putting them in the universe, but asking God for them, or Yahweh, or the source, whomever you pray to. I pray to God. I pray to Jehovah. He can't hear you. It can't hear you if you just don't open your mouth. Closed mouths don't get fed. Closed mouths do not get fed. Okay. You need to speak it into existence. This was created, all of this, because God spoke it into existence. There is power in our tongue. Our prayers are our direct link to source, to God. All right. He created the universe, right? So when we're putting it in the universe, God is hearing it, and it's coming back to us. So what we put out there, it will come back. It may not come back in the time that you want it to. And that's part of it. We have to remember that our time is not like his time. And sometimes we're going to get yes. Sometimes we're going to get no. And sometimes we're going to get not now. Okay. So I hope that helps someone. And I'm going to pull another card from my super attractor, or not exactly, Joy. This is another one that I really like. The artwork is really pretty on it. This is a Gabrielle Bernstein, her super attractor cards. And honest to goodness, I really enjoy these as well because they're simple and they require me to use my intuition. And that's what I love about them. Oops, something dropped. Sorry. So I'm going to pull a card. This one says, as soon as I choose to see the light in the dark corners, I redirect my power toward what I want. I want you to be really think about what this card says. As soon as I choose, there is something that you have to do. You have to choose what you want to see in those dark corners. Do you want to see only darkness, or are you willing to see the light? Because a lot of times we can't have darkness without light. We can't have light without darkness, right? Right? Polarity, right? But it's what we choose. And then when we make the choice, where we direct our power is up to us, because what we do know is what you resist will persist. And what we also know is that what you want is where you will spend your time. And that's where you will direct your power. This is saying that you have control to some degree about how you are showing up in this world, how you are maneuvering through tough periods. And we all have them, right? How we're maneuvering through this life when we're having those dark places, or it feels dark at least, right? So you can choose how you're going to show up and where you're going to send the light, your power. All right, y'all, this has been amazing. Thank you all for spending your time with me. I'm going to close out if there are no other questions on Facebook, YouTube, or on Instagram. I'm going to close it out with my daily prayer, which I didn't start with. Today is the 20th, and this prayer is from Acts chapter 20, verse 35, and it says, the title of it is A Giving Heart. In all things, I have shown you that by working hard in this way, we must help the weak and remember the words of the Lord Jesus, how he himself said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. Gracious God, you are so generous. May I follow the example you set in freely giving my resources and time to others. You do not hold back from me, so let me serve others kindly, remembering whose lead I'm following. You know the tendency of my heart to receive freely and to store things up, though I'm not naturally quick to give things away. As I intentionally follow your precedent, may it become more natural. I have, after all, been given a portion that comes out of the overflow of your heart. I know there is more where it came from. Amen to that. May I not grow tired in serving others, building them up so that they may have courage to turn around and do the same when they are able, knowing that you are abundant in mercy and rich in compassion. I certainly won't hold back either of those. As I pour out in service, I trust that when I come to you, you will fill me up again every single time. Lord, was that not a word? I love it. I love it. That was a word. And that's something that I have been really working on, giving more of myself and my material things. Joy, I sure will tell Mr. James how he is still finishing up the basement, but we'll talk about that another time. He's got about 3 different projects he's working on down there, so I will certainly tell him hi when I get back home. He is anxiously waiting on me to come back. The question from this prayer is, what can you give away more of on a regular basis? Question again is, what can you give away more of on a regular basis? Guys, again, I thank you all. I appreciate you all. If you have gotten some gems from today's Tea Talks, Thoughts, Emotions, and Actions with Coach Tracey, please hit that share button, like, also comment. And if there's something that you would like for me to talk about, I do have a schedule of what I'm going to talk about each week. But hey, I am not opposed to changing to accommodate my community, my family, in helping them with healing from trauma. And also, if you would like to work with me, I have two spots that are coming available So hit the link in my bio if you're on Instagram and go ahead and schedule your discovery session. I will type the link to schedule a discovery session on, and it should be there. Yes. He needs his apprentice. Yes. All right, ladies. Ooh, something flew in my eye. Crystin, you are so very, very welcome. Thank you. I'm grateful also. I'm thankful that this was helpful for you. But again, I'm out of here. I'm going to go head over to the beach for about an hour before the sun sets and just stick my feet in the water. All right. I love you guys. Take care. Mwah. And see you next week for another Tea Talks with Coach Tracey, but at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Talk to you later.